Before I ask you the final few questions, I'm curious about maybe an artist or two that really surprised you. Maybe you had a conception about them based on their music, based on what you'd seen in the press before you've interviewed them, based on their persona and personal brand and kind of character type that they portrayed to the masses. But when you interviewed them, there was a different side of them that really opened you up, or thought, wow, this is really a unique individual in a way that I wasn't even thinking about. Is there one or two that you could?
There's a group. I mean, I would call it my sort of 3.0 or 4.0 kind of era of working in the pop music space, really, because before that I always came from the corner of the room. Like, I knew what music I liked, and I didn't really want to compromise on that. So I knew it was a slower journey, and I knew that it wasn't going to be any shortcut to big numbers or big audiences. It was like, you know, if you want to be the first person to play the Hives on the radio, you know, you're not going to be, no one's going to kick your door down for a mainstream Saturday night, you know, NBC show. You know what I mean? It's like, no, he's the Hives guy. He's happy in his corner, right? He's doing his thing. He's a new music person. And it worked really well for me. And I had an amazing time breaking what a lot of people sort of misguidedly called, including myself at times, credible music. Like, music is all credible. But at the time, we were all caught up in like daytime for pop, evening time for cool, whatever. Then I came to Apple, and I realized, like, if I'm going to listen more, and I'm going to be, and I'm going to change the way that I approach these conversations, I need to find people who are doing things I don't really know about. I don't really know what drives the pop mentality. I don't really know who Justin Bieber is. I don't really know what kind of life Selena Gomez has actually lived. I've never really interviewed Taylor, who's not really, I mean, she is, but Taylor's, like, as we know, is like a songwriter of a generation. But it's like, you know, at the time she was making pop albums. And so it's like, how do I fit into that world? And so when I started having those conversations, it became clear to me and very surprising that with a bit of listening and some genuine curiosity and probably a bit of naivety as to what goes into the pop world, we unlocked these kind of stories and these conversations that really surprised me how transparent modern pop artists have become.
Really?
Yeah. Because in my time, when I was coming up in the 20s and 30s or whatever, trying to find my voice, pop was just so, hi, we're the Backstreet Boys, right? It's like, hey, what's been the hottest thing on tour? I don't know, man. Kevin ate my hot dog last night. That was pretty tough going, you know, MTV News, you know?
Yeah.
That was like the headlines. But you knew there was stuff going on. You knew that people didn't like each other. You knew there was drama, people getting ripped off. I mean, it's not like, pop music has been one of the most exploited sort of things, right? From an artistic point of view, it's very exploited. I mean, music, any artist is, you know, hip hop, country music, dance music, whatever, the artists have a tough time. So you knew that didn't stop at pop. You knew there was drama in pop, but you could never get to it. It's like it was always just like, and cut. We're good here, you know?
Fought and light and
yeah,
poppy.
sell the record, sell the dream. And what was really interesting to me was when I started having conversations with these artists, just how honest and inspiring in conversation they were. I mean, I've found my times talking to Selena Gomez to be some of the most fascinating and honest, amazing conversations I've had in my career.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that? Because she was so vulnerable and open and real? Or?
She's a no human. She's a no human. And if you get her on the day, she knows where the line is. But she doesn't mind walking up to it, you know? And I always thought pop music was way behind the line. You know, you want to go have those conversations, go talk to your favorite rock star or rapper or singer-songwriter, folk star or whatever, you know? I never thought pop stars would show up like that. And that's really where it's gone. I mean, sitting down and having that conversation with Justin Bieber where he was that vulnerable, that open, that honest, let the tears flow, let the voice crack, let the body language tell you everything that you needed to know. That was very surprising to me. It was not what I was expecting when I showed up to the studio that day. And I found the whole thing to be incredibly brave and honest, and I think inspiring for other stars who perhaps felt like they had to present their best and protect the rest. It's okay. You can just let it all go if it's the right time and the right place and you want to. Kelly Clarkson said something to me today in our conversation where she talked about being less of a yes, but sort of being more willing to just walk away from things and not try to defend things all the time. And this, in terms of relationships, I can't remember the context, but she was like, it was exhausting. I remember she just said it's exhausting. It's exhausting to continually have to sort of keep things together.
She started saying no and creating boundaries.
Yeah, and just saying it's easier for me just to say, I don't want to do that, or I'm going to move on, or here's my honest truth. It's exhausting to not. And that's what I saw in Justin. I just saw at the time. You can watch it. I'm not saying anything you can't see. He just looked exhausted, and he just looked like he wanted to just stop. With the whole, he just wanted to be like, here's how I feel today, bro. I may feel different tomorrow, but today I'm tired. I don't know I don't know what's going on. I'm wearing it heavy. And so that has been a very inspiring thing as someone who's curious about what goes into music and art, the true stories, the humanity of it, to see, so many artists who have so much to lose by being honest. Hundreds of millions of followers and constant attention, constant eyeballs trained on them from a young age to actually be able to say, this is bull. I'm upset, or that really hurt me, or this is my truth. And I think that in many respects, and this is the thing, this is my little headline from this conversation, I think that this generation of people who were raised in the public eye and have gone on to develop careers in pop music from a young age are ultimately paving the way for pop stars to be able to walk the line with more knowledge, with a better understanding, just a stronger sense of self.
Yeah.
And now you have like the Billie Eilishes of this world who are just all around amazing.
Yeah, she's amazing.
And just, seem to be able to position things and be honest and be their true selves.
Yeah.
And it took that generation, sorry to go on, but it took that generation of pop stars to come out and say, let's break that spell a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's beautiful to watch this stuff. And you do a great job, again, on your show, the Zane Lowe Show. Make sure you guys check it out on YouTube, everywhere else, on Apple as well. And I love the way you get these artists who seem untouchable to open up in such a beautiful, vulnerable, loving, compassionate way. And so you're the master of it, and you do an amazing job of creating a safe environment and also knowing your stuff. So that's what decades of putting in the consistent effort and work and research will do for you. So big congrats to you, and I want everyone to go check out these interviews because they're so inspiring.
I appreciate that.
I want to acknowledge you, Zane, for your emotional generosity, for being here, for showing up vulnerably loving, opening your heart, and just being a real dude. I wouldn't expect anything different from a Kiwi. So I appreciate you for how you show up and for being an inspiration to so many people around the world. The way you curate conversations and how you show up as a real human being in these talks. I really acknowledge you and appreciate your skills, your generosity, and your humanity.
Wow. Well, thank you very much.
Of course, man.
I appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate, you coming into the human experience with a sense of openness and wanting to know about what makes us tick.
Absolutely, man. It's a nonstop fascination for me.
Right.
Yeah, I can learn from everyone.
Right.
Something.
Yeah.
This question, the last two questions, this one is called the 3 truths.
Okay.
So it's a hypothetical question. Imagine you get to live as long as you want, but it's your last day. You get to accomplish everything you want to accomplish. Your dreams all continue to come true in the future. All the beautiful things. But for whatever reason, you've got to take all of your content with you on this last day. So you've done all the interviews, content, this conversation, for whatever reason, it's gone. It's gone to the next place. So no one left behind in this world has access to your information anymore, your content. But you get to leave behind 3 final lessons, 3 truths that are true for you that you would share with the world. And that's all we have to kind of remember you by. What would be those 3 truths for you?
That our memories are our single most important and valuable experience currency. That all this fades, right? Everything fades, and eventually your memories will too. But that's the only thing I truly like to collect. Right? I have no problem canceling something or spending some money on something or whatever if I'm going to get a great memory out of it. Right? to accept and acknowledge that it's, you know, that in order to love people in your life in a way that is rewarding to yourself, that it's totally valid to love yourself. And that often we project what love is, but we don't really love who we are. And it took me a long time in my life to actually be able to say to myself, like, I like you, dude. Like, I love myself. And it changed every one of my relationships for the better. It made me a better guide for our kids, my wife and myself and our children. And it allowed me to just to listen to my own voice and to not want to turn it off or not want to ignore it. So I'm a big believer in like finding the time in the space to not just sort of learn to love other people and to put your identity through that, but to actually to not be unafraid to love yourself.
I want to follow up with that really quick. When did you realize that you didn't fully love yourself?
Oh, from a young age, I realized pretty early on that something inside of me was stuck in this sort of trauma, and I really, I never felt sort of complete. I never felt entirely comfortable with myself, and I think it took me to go to therapy and to really realize that ultimately my role in all of this is to be a family member and to be, you know, the best possible kind of, to be the most value to the people I care about requires me to value myself. Otherwise, it's all just bullshit.
Right.
You know, and so I had to be really miserable and then realize it's just not gonna sustain me. I need to find, you know, it's like that whole thing of like, can you actually stand in front of a mirror and tell yourself you like yourself?
Oh, man. When was that? When could you actually stand in front of the mirror and say, I like you, I love you, I accept you?
Yeah, it was during the time when I became a parent, and I realized that if in order for me to be able to be a father, a real parent, I needed to be able to acknowledge that.
Wow.
Yeah, in a big way. That music is, despite what a great job we've done of condensing it and monetizing it and commercializing it and making it into these beautiful little packaged things, that at its very core, it is magic. It comes from an intangible space, and it inspires us in a very intangible way, to the point where we try to understand it as much as we possibly can. We analyze it. I analyze it. It's my job. But the more time I spend doing it, the more I realize it's just magical.
It's almost spiritual.
It's pure magic. Yeah. It finds you when you need it. It stays with you. It holds you. It comes out of you. It is. I truly think it is. It's the biggest trick we've all played on ourselves is that it's not the truth. It's not the true experience of life. Art is the true experience of life.
Yeah.
That painting is what it is to be alive. That song is what it is to be alive. That film or that script or that written word or the conversation, anything that is a form of expression is its true nature. That's the magic of being here, I think. Mm-hmm. So, you know, really it's just about, you know, allowing ourselves to be human, allowing ourselves to love, and allowing ourselves to appreciate art. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we're just not kind to art.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean?
Very critical to art, yeah.
Yeah, and I think art it's really magic. The longer I go in this life, the more magic I realize it is.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Final question. You've had a lot of beautiful memories, and you've been around the greatest musicians in the world. But I'm curious, what is your definition of greatness?
Achieving a sense of understanding what it is you're trying to achieve in the moment, albeit in conversation, albeit through ambition or whatever, acknowledging in that moment that you have achieved something and utilizing that to go and inspire you to do something else. the balance between those two things is really what that is. I think the aspiration is very important. The desire to focus and to train and work hard to achieve these goals is great. But I think true greatness is in balance. That's what I think. I think it's in loving what you do and achieving things, inspiring yourself to continue to achieve things, but never at the expense of living a life that is rewarding in every way. I'm big on balance, man. That's what I think. My parents had a rough end to their relationship, at a time when divorce wasn't common, and so, and at an age when I was very, I was open to that trauma. I was in the moment of trying to establish my identity, and it was a really classic sort of divorce story, which has gone